Okay, we are going to go ahead and get started on a comfortable position lying down on our backs. If you prefer not to be on your back, you can come to a seated position. Just taking a few moments to get yourself comfortable. You may or may not want to bend in the knees as you lie back. And right away, asking yourself if there is anything that you can let go of. If there's anything that needs letting go of, either mentally or physically. And starting to bring your attention and awareness to the body breathing. Feeling the sensations of the body making contact with the mat. And perhaps noticing some letting go that may happen just simply by shifting the awareness. And as you're here breathing, experiencing the body from the inside out. Sensations as they occur. Part of the intention for the practice today, I would invite a shared intention of compassion. One of the things that I've been working with lately is this notion that in order to experience compassion for oneself, we have to be willing to honestly look at ourselves and experience even the things that we think perhaps we shouldn't be thinking or we shouldn't be experiencing. To embrace all of that, whether they're soft emotions or hard emotions. Giving ourselves permission to feel what we feel and experience what we experience. It makes way for other things to come through. So oftentimes there's this kind of hard emotion that's protecting us, whether it be annoyance or anger or frustration. And underneath it, there's a softer emotion. Love, sadness, joy, even. And if we can make way for all of that, we have a little more space within our systems to experience the depths of things and then to have compassion. And I've found that the more compassion I can have for myself, the more compassion I can have for others. So spending just a few moments here. Is there anything that you can invite letting go? Is there a harder emotion in the front and a softer one underneath? From here, we're going to take the arms into goalpost arms. So elbows extend out from the shoulders, palms of the hands can be up towards the sky. Feel an opening through the chest, perhaps. And then as you exhale, draw the forearms together, feeling a stretch in the upper back. And as you inhale, allow the arms to open. Taking that at your own pace, starting with this subtle movement. Noticing perhaps just a slight stretch in the upper back and in the chest as you move. And from here, we're going to bring the arms all the way around, taking the hands to opposite shoulder blades and kind of parting the shoulder blades a little bit, grabbing a hold and just drawing them apart a little bit more, spreading that space in the upper back and the shoulder blades. And then we'll take this with breath, just for a few rounds of breath, inhaling to open the arms, and then exhaling, taking the opposite arm on top, giving yourself that hug, spreading the shoulder blades, and inhaling open, just kind of being mindful of which arm is on top and alternating that. Inhaling to open and exhaling, kind of grabbing a hold of the shoulder blades and drawing them apart. And we're going to pause with the arms hugging and the shoulder blades drawing apart. And from here, doing whatever feels best in the low body. I like to have a bend in the knees. We'll take the chin and start to tuck it and then lift the shoulders up off of the mat. The shoulder blades, feel that spreading in the upper back. Feel the core engaging. And then with the next exhalation, lowering down with some control. Inhaling and then exhaling, peeling back up. Feeling that stretch in the upper back, the engagement in the core. Lowering back down. We'll take that one more time. Exhaling to lift. Taking a breath at the top, tucking the chin, squeezing the belly. And lowering back down. And we'll reach the arms now, separating them, reaching them up towards the sky, about shoulder width distance apart. And then without lifting, I guess, the back of the head, we'll lift kind of just through the shoulder blades a bit. So lifting the shoulder blades up off of the mat, reaching the arms up towards the sky, working on a little shoulder mobility here. And then exhaling, plugging the shoulder blades back down onto the mat. Inhaling to lift, small range of motion in all likelihood. Exhaling, plugging the shoulder blades back in. Taking that just another time or two. Inhaling to lift and spread, and exhaling, plugging back in. From here, we're going to goalpost the arms once again, letting them rest at our sides. And we'll take the right hand and turn it down within your range of motion, allowing that shoulder to lift a little bit up off of the mat so that the right forearm and right palm of the hand are down and the left side is up. And then we'll alternate that nice and slow, taking the left palm of the hand down, right back of the hand up. Keeping that kind of goalpost arm on one side and then flattening the hand on the other side. Taking that at your own pace, not pushing it. And it's okay if your hand doesn't connect down to the mat. Just simply experiencing that range of motion. Tending to both the physical and the emotional body. If there's something different that's needed, or if something is painful, if there's a thought, if there is a emotion, simply tending to that with a sense of compassion. releasing both arms down. If you have a strap, you can go ahead and grab it. If you don't, not a problem at all. We're going to take the right leg up. You can take the strap around that right leg and take a little stretch here for the back of that right leg, pointing the toes towards you. If you don't have a strap or don't want to use it, you can take your hands to the back of your right leg and maybe bend and lengthen, maybe hold stillness with the legs straight. And here tending to the upper body still. So if there's strain in the upper body, maybe tucking something underneath the back of the head. If there is kind of a sense of needing to let go a little bit, inviting that letting go to occur in the upper back. And we'll release that right leg down and take the left side, lengthen that left side. Maybe you're taking a hold of the strap, looping it around the foot. Maybe you're not. Kind of finding that place where you feel a stretch, you feel some waking up occurring in the muscles, but not pain. And it's always okay to invite a little bit of movement, a bit of curiosity, moving a little bit, even if it's a micro movement. One of the things with being at home that is nice is folks can turn cameras off if they want to and really not worry about taking pauses. Not that you should ever worry anyway, but just kind of gives a little more permission. And so really embracing that. Nobody's looking, just simply doing what you need to do for yourself. We're going to pause with that left leg up. If you have a block, you can grab it. If you don't, you're just taking your hands and reaching them. So we're plugging the right foot in, we're flexing the left foot. And just like we did before, we're lifting up more than forward, reaching the upper back up off of the mat, parting the shoulder blades, engaging the core, holding here. Another breath. And then on the next exhale, plugging the shoulder blades back down, inhaling to prepare, exhaling to lift, continuing to reach the left foot, continuing to reach the upper body, drawing the navel in, exhaling, plugging the shoulder blades back down, and we'll take that one more time, lifting, engaging the core, breathing here, and lowering down, releasing that left leg, rebending it, and we'll take the right leg up. Plugging the shoulder blades in to prepare, plugging that left foot down onto the mat, and exhaling, lifting up, finding that range of motion, strength in the belly, tucking the chin, especially if there's any pain through the neck or upper back. And then exhaling, lowering back down, plugging the shoulder blades in, lifting up, reaching up more than forward, trying to stabilize through that right leg, and then lowering down. And we'll do that one more time. Exhaling, lifting up, breathing here, and then with the next exhalation, lowering down, hugging both knees in towards the chest. Maybe taking a little rock side to side. And then we're going to take the legs over towards the left. We'll reach the right arm out towards the right. And you can reach the left arm out towards the left as well. And from here, we'll take that right arm to meet the left, right hand to meet the left hand. You can take your gaze along with it. And then inhale, open back up. Right arm opens up towards the side. Legs stay pretty steady. Exhaling, drawing the hands together, lifting that right shoulder blade up off of the mat. And inhaling, floating it back. We'll take that one more time. Exhaling, hands come together. Inhaling, opening back up. And from here, we're going to just kind of reverse that. You can hug the knees together at center, and then we'll take both knees over towards the right. Hands can come here to meet. And then we'll inhale, open the left arm, follow it with the gaze if you'd like, and exhale, come back together. Taking that just a couple more times, continuing to follow gently with the gaze if that feels okay for your neck. And maybe even noticing a little abdominal engagement, oblique side belly engagement as you move. And from here, we'll take ourselves back towards center. You can hug in again if you'd like to. And then bring the knees so they're about hip level. Feet can be flexed, toes could be pointed. Either one is fine. And we'll come into Pilates TikTok. So taking those legs over towards the right, just a little ways, maybe about halfway or less. And then without using much momentum, nice and slow, pulling them back towards center and bringing them over towards the opposite side. And taking that tick-tocking motion at your own pace, using the core, using the oblique muscles. Opposite shoulder may lift just a little bit off of the mat. And here the focus is more on the strength in the core and the control than getting a stretch. So you're keeping your range of motion purposely just a little smaller so that you can maintain control of the movement and engage the muscles rather than the momentum of the swaying. And then gently releasing, taking the feet back down to the mat. If you want to take any movement or stretch before coming up to seated, feel free to do that. And as you're ready, we'll make our way into a seated position. Taking a few rounds of a seated cat-cow. So you could have legs out in front or you could be cross-legged and rolling all the way back towards the tailbone, past the tailbone, tucking the chin, rounding the upper back, and then inhaling, lifting the heart, lifting the chest, extending, opening, and taking that at your own pace. Feeling the full range of motion in the spine, the shoulders, the low back, the pelvis, all the way through the neck. Inviting some softness and fluidity. And then coming back through to center. From here, you can come, the alternative is to come cross-legged if this position doesn't feel okay for you. Otherwise, what we're going to do is we're going to take our right knee so that it's kind of pretty much parallel with the right ankle, and it can be parallel with the top of the mat. And then we'll take that left leg so that the left knee is coming pretty much out from the left hip. So we've got hip, knee, and ankle all in alignment on both sides. From here, now again, if you don't want to do this, cross-legged is totally fine if this doesn't feel safe or comfortable for your hips. And from here, kind of experimenting with the range of motion. So we're leaning forward a little ways and then taking it back. And as you take it back, you'll notice a stretch here in that front left hip. And as you come forward, you'll notice the stretch probably through that right piriformis muscle, right hip, outer hip. And just kind of exploring that, maybe pausing a little bit on one direction or the other if it feels particularly good to lean back, get that hip opening on the left side. Feel free to stay there. If it feels really good to come forward, maybe stay there. Just experimenting with it for a few more breaths, going forward and back. And then from here, we'll bring the legs around and switch sides. Now, again, if you are not doing it this way, you can cross your legs. If your legs were crossed in a seated cross-legged position, you can just switch the cross. And from here, Yes, just double check in with your alignment. Ankle, knee, hip, ankle, knee, hip on the other side. Exhaling forward, keeping some length in the spine, inviting curiosity into the posture, and then taking it back. Leaning back, feeling that opening through the front of the right hip. And again, this is an opportunity for compassion as well. I'm noticing a little bit of judgment sneaking in myself about how tight my hips are and how I probably should have been stretching a little bit more this past week. And so if you're having any of that kind of shared humanity that I'm having in terms of judgment, now or at any point during the practice, inviting in that compassion. And then from there, we'll release that. Take the legs out in front, give a little shake. Sometimes it can feel really nice on the calf muscles just to kind of bounce the legs a little bit. Allow the calf muscles to just kind of feel that sensation of being bounced on the mat. From there, if you'd like to, you can take your strap. If you don't want to, you don't have to, or if you don't have one, that's fine. You can climb along the legs as we hinge from the hips, folding forward, lengthening the spine, creating space between pelvis and rib cage. Taking another breath or two here. And on the next inhalation, releasing from that, and we'll make our way up to a standing position. Right away, we'll start with a wide stance. And here the toes can be angled out and the heels can be angled in a little bit more. Reaching the arms up towards the sky, lengthening on the inhale. And on the exhale, you can dive down, articulating the spine down, bending deeply through the knees, coming up, inhaling here, and then exhaling, diving down, bending through the knees. Inhaling, opening up to the goalpost arms, pressing the arms up, and exhaling, articulating and diving down. And you can take that at the same pace as me, or you can take it at your own pace, finding that articulation in the spine, inviting some fluidity of movement. Moving with the breath, inhaling up and exhaling down. And the next time you find yourself in that squatting position, you can take the hands, fingertips can fan down, and you can encourage the knees open. If at any point for safety you want to hold on to a wall or a chair or countertop, please do that. We'll take our right shoulder over towards the left knee, continuing to encourage the right knee open, encourage the hips to reach back and the spine to be long. And then exhaling, switching sides. Coming back through to center, straightening through the knees. We'll pivot the feet here so that they're pretty much fairly square, toes and heels in alignment. And we're going to lunge over, taking a side lunge over towards the left. Hands can be down on your thigh or down on the mat. We're reaching the hips back, lengthening the spine. And then on the inhale, reach the arms up kind of on a diagonal over towards the right. So we're going to exhale down and inhale up, finding that diagonal. Taking that a few more times, starting to engage through the oblique muscles a little bit on that left side especially. Keeping length and space through both sides of the torso. And then this next time, we're going to pause for a second in this down position. And as we come up, if you want, you're taking that into more of a balanced position, star pose, reaching over towards the right. And then once again, taking that lunge over towards the left, and then inhaling. You can slide that left foot a little closer for the transition, coming into that star pose again. And of course, you're doing this at your own pace. You can do it fairly quickly if you want to. You can do it fairly slow if you want to. And you don't have to come into the balance pose either. You can stay with that beginning movement that we started with. This would also be a nice opportunity if you had a chair or countertop or wall. Feel free to hold on to that. Pausing one more time over towards the left, and we're going to take that transition over towards the side lunge on the right side. Keeping length in the spine, keeping the hips reaching back, torso reaching forward, and then we're going to start inhaling to lengthen, keeping both feet planted, and then exhaling to lunge. Inhaling, lengthening on the diagonal, lengthening both sides of the torso. Exhaling to lunge, starting to engage through the oblique muscles here. And then if you want, experimenting here a bit with that star pose. So reaching on the diagonal, elevating that right foot, and then sinking back down. Taking that a few more times at your own pace, maybe a little quicker, maybe a little slower. Staying really active through that right foot, especially as you kick it back. And we'll pause in the side lunging position. And walk the hands towards center for a wide-legged forward fold. And here, if you'd like to, you can turn the heels slightly out and the toes slightly in. Taking any variation that speaks to you. So you can have hands down on a block, chair, down on the mat. You could grab a hold of your opposite ankles. You could begin to walk the fingertips towards the other side of the mat. Walk them right underneath you. Play around with it a little bit. Feeling the body from the inside out. Breathing here. And then beginning to heel toe the feet back towards one another, or step the feet back towards one another. Making your way up to standing. We'll come up to the top of the mat if you're not already there. Inhaling, reaching the arms up. Exhaling for this first forward fold. Let's take the hands to the hips, soften the knees, and hinge from the hips as we fold forward. Inhale for your halfway lift. And then exhale, folding back in. We'll step the right foot back into a lunge position. Steady yourself here, left knee stacked on top of left ankle. And we'll inhale up with straight knees to start. Make sure you feel relatively balanced. And as you exhale, we're going to come into a fist of fire. So you can take your hands in fists and exhale, bend the knees, pull the elbows back, hands are in fists, and inhale, rise up. Exhale down, you can tuck the chin a little bit as you come down. Inhale, if you want to take the gaze up, you can. Taking that at your own pace, a little bit more vigorous if you'd like. So inhaling and exhaling. And if you want to make it an auditory exhalation, you're exhaling, inhaling and exhaling. Building some heat in the body, continuing to work with shoulder mobility. And the next time you're down, you can stay down. Take the hands down to the mat. And take your transition however you like. So we're coming into downward facing dog. You can step that left foot back to meet the right. You could come to all fours first. You could take child's pose if you wanted to. Another pose I should mention, you can stay in down dog while I mention it if you want, or you can follow along with me. Another pose is puppy pose. It's kind of that hybrid between child's pose and downward facing dog. So puppy pose, hips stay stacked on top of the knees and the arms can reach forward. So you're still getting that tractioning and lengthening through the spine, but it's a little less pressure on the wrists and the upper body. So just an option to take note of. With the next inhalation, we'll make our way through to plank position on the knees or not. And then exhale, lower down to the mat, uncurl the toes. Inhale, lift up for cobra pose. Taking that stretch through the upper back, glutes are active, pubic bone roots down. And exhale, releasing from that. Pressing back to puppy pose, child's pose, or downward facing dog. Taking a few mindful breaths here. Every time we notice that the mind has wandered elsewhere, and we can invite ourselves back to the present moment. Every time we do that, it's an experience of coming home to ourselves, to what is, meeting ourselves here, just exactly as we are. From here, you can take your transition by coming to all fours, or you can simply take that right foot forward, coming into your lunge position. I found on the other side it worked a little bit better, just a slightly shorter stance lunge, not super short, but just slightly shorter to accommodate the lengthening and bending of the knees. We'll make our way up to standing. Arms can reach up, legs are straight, and then we'll exhale as if we were pulling something through. Fists of fire, elbows reach back. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, come through. Bending through both knees, bending through both elbows as you come down. Inviting a little bit of heat in the body. If you like that auditory exhalation, and it doesn't cause any dizziness, feel free to do that. Inhaling and exhaling. And maybe taking that another time or two, continuing to build heat. And then releasing the hands down and stepping left foot forward to meet the right. We'll inhale here for a halfway lift. And exhale, soft knees, fold back in. Rooting through the feet to rise, articulating all the way up to standing. Finding equal standing through the feet, length through the crown of the head. We're going to take the left knee and hug it in towards the chest. So of course, take a hold of something if you'd like to for balance. If you want to take some ankle circles, feel liberated to do so. And then we're going to take that knee away from the body, opening up through the chest. Breathing here. And then we're going to take that leg back and come through to warrior three. And I'm cheating because my foot is on the wall behind me. And coming back through to center. I'm going to step forward just a touch. From here, we're going to hug the right knee in towards the chest. If you'd like to take the ankle circles, you can. Gazing at a focal point if that's helpful, slowing down the breath a little bit. And then taking that leg away from the body, opening up through the inner thigh. And then hands could come to heart center if you'd like, and we'll hinge forward for warrior three. And then coming back up. So we're going to take that just a couple times on each side with the invitation to do it a little bit quicker. So we're taking the knee up and then taking the knee out to the side and then taking it back into warrior three. Swinging that leg through so that it's at the front, the side, and back. And we'll do that one more time, kind of flowing through it. Forward, side, and back. Lubricating the hip, working on strength and stability, balance. Coming back through to center, taking a little pause here, resetting ourselves, really doing whatever you want with the hands. And we'll take that right knee up, out to the side, and back for warrior three. Warrior three, we hinge forward. The other two are standing a little more upright. Utilizing the core as we bring that knee up towards center, side, and taking it back to warrior three. Ankle stability, of course, on that left ankle. Forward, side, and then taking it back to warrior three. And coming all the way forward. Coming back to equal standing, coming to the top of the mat. We're going to do something called a water salutation. And so it's a little bit different. There'll be some opportunities to have the legs so that one is crossed behind the other. If that causes discomfort or if you have hip replacement and that just doesn't feel right, feel free not to do the crossing part. You can still do the whole sun salutation. If you do have a block, you might want to have it handy up towards the top of the mat. We'll inhale, reach the arms up. And then exhale, hands can come to the heart as we float through, coming into forward fold. We'll start with the right side. So we're going to take the right leg back into a lunge position, just a regular lunge position. You can be down on the right knee or you can have the right knee elevated. I sometimes find it nice just to slide a little bit forward and back in these lunge positions, just to get a little more movement, a little more of a stretch, but feel free to stay in stillness as well. From here, we're going to step the left foot back. You can take it to meet the right in downward facing dog if you don't want to do the cross. If you're okay with doing the cross, you're going to take that right foot so that it's in front of the left. So you're crossing that left foot behind the right. And notice the different spaces where you feel the stretch here. So it's just like downward dog, except the legs are crossed, pinky toes are coming to say hello to each other, right next to one another. And then from here, if you want to part the legs, you can. If you want to keep them in this crossed position, go ahead and keep them in the crossed position, coming through to plank, but it's going to be kind of like a little bit of a heart opening position. The hips will dip. The arms are really strong here. Chest reaches forward. And then we'll exhale, press back to downward facing dog. You can separate the feet. And we're going to take the right foot forward. Now here, we're coming into a lizard lunge. And so you can take, it's a little bit of a different lizard lunge I'll introduce to you. So we're going to take the right toes so they angle out towards the right. That left hand, left forearm could be down, or you could have it down on a block. You're going to start to climb or reach that right arm on a diagonal out towards the right. Slide back just a little so you might be able to see me better. So we're kind of sliding out on a diagonal with or without the block. Making sure that that foot, that right foot is pretty wide, turned out towards the right. Taking another breath or two there, moving around with it a little bit if you need to adjust. And then from here, we'll heel toe that right foot towards the center of the mat into a regular lunge position and step the left foot forward. And the left foot, once again, is going to be crossed, if that feels okay for you, behind the right so that the pinky toes are right next to one another. Here in your forward fold, experiencing that a little bit different than a regular forward fold, getting into that left hip, left glute, a little bit more, left glutes, left hip. Crown of the head is heavy. And then we'll take that left foot so that it's where it usually is, right next to the right, big toes next to each other, feet about hip width distance. And then rooting through the feet to rise. Inhale, reach the arms up. And we'll exhale, soften the knees and fold forward. Coming into the left side now, we'll step the left leg back, right knee forward, just a simple lunge, however you want to do it. You can be down on the knee or you can be elevated, your choice. Breathing here. And then stepping back to regular down dog, or you can cross that right foot behind the left so that the pinky edges of the feet are next to one another. Continuing to press the chest back towards the thighs, shake the head no, release through the upper body. And again, if you want to bring the feet back to a regular position and come into cobra, that's fine. Otherwise, you're coming through to that different plank where we drop the hips. It's almost like an upward facing dog type position. Chest reaches forward, hips drop, and then exhaling back to downward facing dog. Separating the feet, and we'll step the left foot forward. So those left toes now are going to be angled slightly out in your lizard lunge. And if you want, you can do that kind of sideways reaching lizard lunge. You can take your right hand or right forearm down and then start to climb the left arm out on a diagonal out towards the left. And just kind of experiment with that a little bit. Breathing here. Getting that stretch perhaps to the outer hip, outer thigh on that left side. Allowing the upper body to release a little bit, or if it feels better to kind of reach the crown of the head forward, you could do that. Breathing here. Letting go of tension in the face and in the jaw. And beginning to heel toe that left foot towards center. And we'll step the right foot forward to meet the left. And if you'd like, you can have those pinky toe edges of the feet together so that that right foot is behind the left, right leg is behind the left, crossing and experiencing this forward fold in this different way. Noticing perhaps a deeper stretch, a different stretch. And then uncrossing the feet. We'll inhale for a halfway lift, reach the crown of the head forward. And exhale, soft knees, folding in. And on the next inhalation, coming all the way up to standing. And exhaling, releasing down. From here, let's see here. Let's step the feet wide. Heels are going to angle slightly out. Toes will angle slightly in. And we're going to turn those left toes up towards the top of the mat. Left knee stacked on top of left ankle. Nice and sturdy through the low body. We'll inhale to reverse. Feel that stretch through the right side. And then exhale to extend. Tucking a little bit through the left shoulder, opening up through the right shoulder and the right side waist. Feel a strong line all the way from those right fingertips down to the pinky edge of the right toe as you reach. And then if you'd like to, both arms will reach here. Breathing, staying strong and steady. Keeping length, especially through that left side of the body. And then pushing through that left foot, straightening the left leg, inhaling to reverse. And then exhaling, hiking that right hip up a little bit, tucking the left, coming through to triangle. And then exhaling, hands come to meet, shoulders both turn down. Inhale, open. Exhale, come back together. And inhale, open. Lifting all the way back upright. Taking the feet once again so that they're wide and the heels are angled out, toes are angled in. And now we'll turn the right toes towards the back of the mat, lunging into that right knee. Inhale, reaching the arms up. Inhale to reverse your warrior. And then exhale to extend. Tucking a little bit through the right rib cage and the right shoulder as you reach the left side. Feeling that length or line of energy from the pinky toe on that left side all the way through the fingertips. And then if you want, really, really engaging the core, and just for a couple of breaths here, reaching both arms. Strong abdominal engagement, shoulder blades press back towards the real or imaginary wall behind you. And then we'll inhale, reverse. With the straight leg, get that good side body stretch on the right side. And take that all the way through to triangle. Inhale up and exhale, hands come to meet. Inhale up and exhale, hands come to meet. And last time, inhale all the way up, coming back to center. Taking the feet once again so that those heels are slightly out, toes are slightly in. We're plugging the big toe edges of the feet down, rooting through the big toe mounds as we hinge at the hips, coming into a wide-legged forward fold. I often like to keep my hands on my hips just for a moment to lift the hip creases up and away slightly, keeping that length in the torso, and then maybe taking whatever arm variation you'd like. Hands can rest in front of you. They could grab a hold of the big toes with the first two fingers and the thumb. They could grab a hold of the backs of the heels or calves. And then from here, nice and easy, heel toeing the feet back together and arranging yourself into a seated position with the legs out in front once again. If you'd like to use your strap, you're taking that strap, looping it around the feet. Inhaling, reaching the crown of the head up, elongating the torso. And then again, hinging from the hips, folding forward. Noticing if this feels any different than when we started the class. And inhaling, rising all the way back up, reaching the arms up, creating the longest version of your torso that you possibly can, plugging the sits bones down onto the mat and lengthening and growing up from that space. Long between the pelvis and the rib cage, between the shoulders and the base of the neck, the crown of the head, and the fingertips reaching up. And from here, we'll take that left hand over towards the right outer thigh. Take that right hand behind you and take a twist towards the right with a very lengthened spine. Gaze can come out over the right shoulder as that left shoulder presses back. And then keeping the chest really open, you can take the gaze out over the left shoulder if you'd like. Bringing the neck back to neutral, inhaling, reaching the arms up, growing as tall as you possibly can. And exhaling, reversing that twist in the opposite direction over towards the left, keeping the feet active, flexed. Gaze can come out over the left shoulder, reaching the right shoulder back and open, getting a stretch through the neck. And then nice and easy, taking that gaze out over the right shoulder. Eyes can be closed if you'd like. Continue to invite length into the neck. And then again, nice and easy, taking the chin back in line with the chest. Inhaling the arms up. And then exhaling, floating the arms down. Taking a bend in the knees here. Starting to lean back, we're going to come into boat pose. So starting to lean back, finding that kind of almost tipping point just behind the tailbone perhaps. Spine is lengthened, chest reaches up kind of towards the ceiling. Arms can reach forward, they can stay at the backs of the legs. You can have the heels planted or not. And then from here, if you have a block, you can take your block over towards the left, reach it up and over towards the right. Just simply going from side to side, trying to keep the legs as steady as possible. Just like before when we talked about hip, knee, and ankle alignment, see if you can keep those pretty much aligned with one another, whether the heels are planted or elevated. And releasing from that. Taking the knees open, heels can come together, soles of the feet can come together. Sitting up nice and tall on the very tops of the sits bones. Maybe move side to side just a bit to kind of find that alignment. And then if you want to, you can begin to round forward, taking the gaze right to the soles of the feet. I once had a teacher say to me, it's like as if this was a book, the soles of the feet were a book that was really interesting and you were just trying to get closer and closer to it. And beginning to make your way back up to seated. We'll prepare to come down onto the mat, taking any last movements or adjustments that you'd like to take. Maybe grabbing a blanket or additional piece of clothing if you'd like. And eventually here, starting to once again invite yourself back home to experience the sensations of this living, breathing body from the inside out. Knowing that there are no good or bad feelings. There may be hard emotions and soft emotions. Knowing that there are no unacceptable thoughts, just allowing space for all of it. Because when we soften and allow, we can get a little bit deeper into that place of true compassion. If you find that the mind wanders, just kindly invite yourself back to the here and now. As often as you think of it, as often as you can. I have a quote to share with you. It's from Pema Chodron, and she says, "Compassion is not a relationship between healer and wounded. It is a relationship between equals. Only when we know our own darkness well can we be present with the darkness of others. Compassion becomes real when we recognize our shared humanity." So here, checking in with what you might need, maybe taking a full body stretch, maybe lying in stillness a bit longer. I'd like to thank you all so very much for sharing your practice and sharing your positive energy with each other and with me. Namaste.